Zeynep is a young woman with thin face lines and bright eyes, but the glow in her eyes is not the glow of happiness.
This is exactly how I imagined your room. Just like in your books, Professor. First, let me tell you my life story. I didn't live like everyone else. I've had a different life, like in the movies. I can't believe how I got to this day. I am the daughter of a very poor family. My father was a construction worker, and my mother used to clean houses. We were 3 children, 2 girls, 1 boy. I'm the youngest in the family. My brother Remzi was a very successful boy in school, but my father did not want him to learn. Bring home the bread. You can't read, he insisted.
What was your father like?
Don't ask. He was a no-good. He worked on construction till the evening, and the 3 kurus he earned he would spend at the taverns in the evening. My mother already provided for the house. That's all. But if he came home and Mom would open her mouth, he'd beat the hell out of her and then beat us. She really wanted to teach her son. That's what fights were usually about at home. My mother was paying for his schooling anyway. The more she told him not to take the boy away from school, the angrier he would get, and the more he would leave broken things in the house. He blamed Remzi too, by the way. This is all because of you, he blamed the boy by saying. Remzi started working in construction with my father and enrolled in evening high school. The kid was so smart. He didn't want to be like our dad. Father would not even pay for the boy's transport. The boy walked for miles to get out of construction and into school. I'm youngest. My sister took care of the house. She was also 10 years old. She went to school, and when she came home, she did the housework.
Did you stay home alone?
I don't know. After 2 or 3 years, they left me at home. They locked the door behind me and left. They'd put something to eat on a plate in front of me, that's all. When my sister came, she was so happy I had not left the house. She's younger than Remzi, presumably. She goes to elementary school. We took care of ourselves together. Sometime later, Remzi got sick. They said he had pneumonia and then tuberculosis. He spent months in the hospital. No one went to see him. My mother often went to see him at night when she left work, and when she left the hospital, she brought home a burrito. I was with Remzi when I was 5. My mother would hug us and cry for hours, screaming for her baby. When he died, she and my dad seemed to get really close. It's because of you, girl, I was told. My dad got angry. That's what he would do. I'd think what's wrong with me and he would tear up the house again. At that time, my mother tried to destroy my father. She said, "I'm providing for this house anyway. We don't need you anymore."
Did your mother have any relatives or anything?
There are, but they are all in the village. We have no one in Istanbul. If we get up and go to the village, we'll all go and stay. My father knows that. He's already a jealous man. The house has broken down again. My father came out of the kitchen with a knife, and I thought he'd kill us all. Screaming. I'm screaming. Oh, Professor, it was not just difficult. It was horrible. We couldn't sleep in our beds for days because my father was unpredictable. My mother didn't want to keep this marriage because she always blamed my father for her son's death.
How do you know she won't do the same thing to you? Was your sister studying then?
She sent my sister to school out of fear of my father. I was going to school at the time, but my sister dropped out of middle school. She was unable to read. My father would get angry when her report card was weak. He was saying that we are wasting so much expense, and he would hit the floor as he grabbed her by the hair. My sister got married before she was 18. How long now? How will my sister's life be like? Miserable. Her goal was not to get married. She wanted to get out of the house as soon as possible. She ran away with the first boy she met. He was also a poor child. When she left, I was the only one left. My dad picked me up from school the year I finished primary school. We sent the other daughter to school, and it was neither good for her nor for us. You take Zeynep to the places you go and she'll learn about work, he told my mother. This time my mom wasn't able to appeal too much. My sister ran away from home, so my father always blamed my mother. You sent this girl to school and she found a husband there. If she had stayed at home, we wouldn't be so disgraced in the neighborhood. My honor was tarnished because of you, he said.
What kind of student were you?
I was a hard worker. My report cards were always so good. And when my dad picked me up from school, I cried and begged for days. But my dad wouldn't even listen. And my mother never supported me this time. That's when we started going to the house where my mother worked together. My mother worked for a very young family. Middle-aged husband and wife. Had no kids. He was a senior bureaucrat in the state. She had worked before and then retired due to health problems.
What's wrong?
Rheumatoid arthritis. Her back was twisting and all her joints were becoming familiar. While we were going with my mother was warming up the house and I was serving Miss Nerman, the lady of the house. She was such a kind, loving woman. She'd make me feel like a big girl. She would listen to me. And I would tell her how much I wanted to read, but my father wouldn't let me read. "What would you like to read?" she used to say. I'd say, "I'm going to be a lawyer." One day she said to me, "Be our daughter. Let's get your parents' permission, and you'll live with us from now on. I'll send you to school, and you can be my friend at home."
That's a nice offer. What did you say? What did you feel?
I don't know. I'm so glad both joy and fear entered in. Imagine what it's like to move out of a bad slum to a luxury apartment building, to be in that house, not the maid of that house, but her daughter. I ran to my mother because the lady was calling her. Miss Nerman told her. My mother didn't know what to say either. She said she would ask my father. When we left, we didn't stay in our place of joy until we arrived home. And fear came into her like me. We didn't tell him right away, and it was night, and Dad came home. It's not clear what we would say in the morning, but I could not sleep. And then I got up, and my dad was in the house with his arms up, and he was playing. "Come on, girl. Come sit down." My father called me his daughter for the first time. He was very happy. "From the lottery, the money came out," he said to Mom. My mother was happy when he said that. Just that day, they made a little suitcase for me. They put my tattered clothes into it, my obsolete school uniform. We went in a pair of shoes to Nermin Hanim's house. The woman saw we're here with a suitcase. She figured I'd stay with them. She sat in front of my mother. "Miss Sakin," she said, "is now she, the daughter of the house. Every time you come into this house, you can see your daughter as you wish. You can talk. Take this suitcase to those in need in the neighborhood. She won't need them here anymore." So this is my mother. She kissed the hand of Miss Nerman, saying, "Her flesh is yours, her bone is ours." I moved into that house. Just that day, Miss Nerman, she took me to the bazaar. We bought everything together. But we took so much, we couldn't carry it. Her husband, Ekram Bey, sent a car to pick us up. They gave me one of the rooms. In that week, I was immediately interviewed by the schools. Items were taken to the room, and within a week I started secondary school, albeit a little late.
You really think that only happens in movies? How could a child that age be affected by all this? How did you feel, Zeynep? How did that sudden change affect you at that age?
Professor, I feared for a long time that this was a dream. Now I'm going to wake up. I'm going to find myself in that slum again. I'm going to jump out of bed with my dad's voice. I was afraid of that. They put me in my room and they showed me how it was decorated. I have never seen anything like it. White cots, lacy bedding, down pillows, a white desk, a lamp over, various notebooks, pencils, watercolors, beautiful dresses, white socks, beautiful shoes in the closet. I would hold each and every one of them and hug them. You should see my nightgowns, colorful, flowering beetles. I go to high school with rich kids. I go by a school car in the morning and leave the same way at night. When I get home, the food and pie are ready. My mother made it. Everywhere it is spotlessly clean. Miss Nerman always greets me with a laugh and a hug. Ekrem Bey comes in the evening. No fighting, no noise in the house. What you eat is in front of you. What you don't eat is behind you. They put money in my pocket on the way to school. I didn't know if I was on the ground or in the sky for a while. I'm not used to such things. I'm eating so much that this time my stomach hurts. Not only do I eat, I hide things under my bed. Impolite here. Then Miss Nerman found out. They put a little fridge in my room. They filled it. This is all yours, and it will be replaced as it dwindles. Take your time. They said eat whenever you want. Look what I've done. Who is to be told of this?
You've come to your place, Zeynep. You say these things at the right address, but I don't condemn you as much as you do. You were just a kid then. You've never seen plenty like this before. Isn't that natural for that kid? Whatever you call it,